can you start us off with rule number one, or
Well,
as he likes to say, commandment number
commandment
one?
number one. So, rule number one is that you control what matters most. And a lot of times, what he means by this is that we often chalk up stock market investing to being an intelligence game, but really it's an emotional intelligence game, and that the people who do the best in the stock market aren't the people who are the most intelligent, but the people who can control their emotions the best. And that's because you have a lot of money in the stock market. So when you're riding the highs of the stock market or trying to weather the lows, you have a tendency to make the absolute wrong decisions because of your emotions rather than sticking to a rule-based approach. And so his point here was that if you can control your emotions, which is very difficult, then you can be an upper echelon investor. And the way you do this is through rules-based investing. And we'll touch more on this later, but the crucial point here, I'm going to say it one more time. You control what matters most, which is your emotions. That is the key thing in investing. And I think Warren Buffett backs this up pretty heavy too.
And what are the? I think at the end of each chapter, end of each rule, he gives us a think, ask, and do. What were those for rule number one?
For rule number one, think. What the market does, my own choices matter most. Ask. Rather than chasing returns, is there more I could be doing with respect to saving, cutting costs, and remaining patient? Do. Automate a process of long-term regular contributions to your investment account that escalate with salary raises.
Rule number one, very straight and simple.
Very straightforward.
So now with rule number two.
Yeah, what's rule number two?
So what he says is you can't do this alone, right? And when it comes to emotions, one of the things that they like to tell us is it's good to be able to express those emotions and talk to somebody else. And this idea kind of applies to investing, where you're going to go through a lot of emotional up and down, which will make you act irrational. Emotion when it comes to investing, you want to make clear decisions and have systems that we'll talk about, but you want to keep your emotions in check. And the best way, he says, is you should get a financial advisor. And he says a financial advisor pays dividends in two ways: in your bank account and in your time. So one of the reasons why he says in your time is the stock market, understanding the stock market is like a full-time job.
It really is.
I think it's hilarious when I talk to people that think they already understand and they're my age, because I feel like I'm pretty not knowledgeable for my age, decently knowledgeable, because I just watch a bunch of videos and all that, but I don't even think I'm close to being good at all. I literally tell people, just buy the S&P. I just buy the S&P and I just worry about trying to build businesses. That's about it, right? So understanding the stock market, understanding how it works, there's so many variables and factors. It's a full-time job, so you should hire somebody that will do that as their full-time job, right?
Right.
But the main benefit of getting a financial advisor is actually not for their stock picks and how they're going to decide to how they're going to tell you to allocate your money. The benefit of it is behavioral. Again, having that someone to talk to, hey, I should sell Tesla stock. They probably look at you and say, depending on your advisor, they might say, hey, that's a really bad idea. You should not sell Tesla stock. Think about the upside that you told me about and that you laid out this system, this idea, your thesis on Tesla. Or they might say it's a good idea. Tesla's really high right now. It might crash, whatever, right? And so having someone else to bounce those ideas to, and to, number one, just kind of help tell you when you're being irrational is going to be really beneficial. And so other benefits, again, asset allocations, withdrawal, tax efficiency is something that is actually really, really important here, because taxes will eat away at your returns when it comes to investing. And so, again, just more important things to know. Investing is very emotional. You can get very emotional. It's good to have an advisor that's really there to help you with your behavioral side of investing. And really, that's about it I have. So when it comes to, you have something?
I was going to ask you, because I know you mentioned, do you wholly agree with this idea does that strike you as the best? I know it kind of hit me. I was like, really, that's interesting. I mean, I'm 19, so I don't really know.
Yeah.
I'm not experienced in the world of finance. But how did that make you feel at rule number two? I was kind
of... I've heard a lot of different things. So when it comes to just, I guess, the financial advisor, this idea, I was kind of reading it with a grain of salt, because I believe personally, again, very novice here, but I believe personally that you should want to take on that full responsibility. Paying for a financial advisor, I don't think will be as great of a return if you yourself are competent enough to know hey, there's very simple things I need to do. I just need to do this, and make sure that I don't behave opposing to what my rules were, right? But he brings, like he said, him bringing the argument that it is mainly for the behavioral aspect. I'm like, okay, so it's like, do you? It's really based on the person themselves. Like, do you believe you have enough control to not do those things? Then like, don't spend the money on a financial advisor if you know yourself that you can control your emotions, behave, and not look at it. But for someone that may be very emotional or whatever, it might be beneficial there. But I think it's really highlighting the point that you should not be trying to get a financial advisor because you think they will just pick stocks that will instantly turn you rich. No, it's just for the behavioral side. So I don't fully agree with this. I think that you are better off just kind of learning to train your emotions and learning to control your behavior than you are to pay and lose a bit of the fees you have to do there. But again, it's different for people. But so when it comes to like the applications and the think, ask, do, he just says an advisor who keeps an advisor who keeps me from making the big five mistakes over a lifetime has more than earned her money, which can be true.
Fair point.
What you should ask yourself is if an advisor's primary value is coaching my behavior, what might I look for in a potential advisor relationship? And then what you should do, enlist the help of an advisor or who sees the enlist the help of an advisor who sees behavioral coaching as one of her primary responsibilities, again, because that is the most benefit you will get from them. But I want to ask you a question though. Not me and you can't pay for a financial advisor, dude.
No
Like,
shot.
and a lot of people can't at that point. Like we don't have the money to, and then like it's gonna eat away at your returns. And if you don't have a big portfolio, it's like it might just not be reasonable, right? So like, how can we apply this for someone? How can someone that isn't at the point that they can pay or get a financial advisor, how can they apply this rule?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is if you don't have enough money for a financial advisor, generally you're probably not going to make that much money from investing anyways. But putting that aside, if the main benefit comes from emotional regulation from an advisor, the best thing to do would be to enlist the help of a trusted friend and or a few friends or maybe your parent or someone like that that can, you lay out why you're investing in certain stocks or certain things and then hold them accountable, like tell them what you're trying to do and why you need them to help keep your emotions in check and help them. Basically, when you're going to make a decision, you consult them and then they can help keep you in check with your emotions. I think that's a good way. Obviously, if they're a friend, they'll do it for free, hopefully.
Yeah.
If not, then tough.
And just make sure that the incentives for that friend, like if you are both in a position, right, it'll be, you can say it's beneficial because both of y'all will have the incentive to want to act rationally there, but also at the same time there could be that incentive for your other friend to act irrationally because they're invested in it, and so they might not want to sell when maybe you're thinking about selling. So be aware. But again, I think just having someone that can help keep your behavior in check is the most important.
Definitely.
But now I think we stressed rule 2 enough.
Yeah.
You can't do this alone. But rule 3.
Trouble is opportunity. And this one actually, I think is very important. People miss this so much. When we're just think about this logically. You hear this advice a lot. You buy low and you sell high, right? Because if you buy low, then you make money when the market goes up, and you sell high because it's already at its highest, so it can only go down. But a lot of times what happens when we get into a bull market, which is when the market is going really great, a lot of people are like, oh, wow, like the market's going up. It must keep going up, right? And everyone starts buying and buying and buying. And then you have a crash, right? And then the people who got in at the very end, they lose a ton of money. And on the flip side, when we have that crash, everyone's like, oh no, the market's gone. Like I need to pull my money out right now. That's actually the best time to put your money in, right? Mm-hmm. So it's this idea that when the market is at its best, it's going to reverse to the mean. And when the market is at its worst, it's also going to reverse to the mean, meaning it's going to reverse to the average. So when it's at its highest, it's most risky. And when it's at its lowest, it's actually the least amount of risk, okay? So trouble is opportunity. What that means is when the market is doing its worst, that is your opportunity to invest and make the most money when the market reverses back to the average and you get to capitalize on those gains.
And I think something added here just really quick is corrections and bear markets are a common part of an investment lifetime. So like expect to see the market be in red a couple of times, maybe down 20%, down a lot sometimes. So he says, Dr. Crosby says, expect 10 to 12 bear markets in your life. And I think a bear market just means that we're at negative, or it's like 20% loss around.
Yeah, just think of like a recession.
And so corrects and bear markets are a long-term buying opportunity. So you cannot think you cannot think short-term when it comes to investing. And that's probably the biggest thing you're going to pull from this book, and hopefully you pull from us discussing these topics. So again, trouble is opportunity. And I think Warren Buffett has like a famous saying of like, when those be careful or be wary when people are greedy, and be greedy when people are fearful.
Yeah,
Or
something
so
along those lines.
yeah, it's be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. So I
Right.
think that perfectly explains this.
And before we move on, just realize that this is hard advice to follow, not because it's difficult to understand, but because in the middle of a recession or a bear market, you're like, it's psychologically difficult to invest money in a market that is down, and it's psychologically difficult not to invest in a market that is up when everyone else is making money around you.
The way to And I think one more thing to add, the way to think about this is when the market is down and you know like a good company, like if the market goes down but the company that you're interested in investing in has not changed from its principle, like what the business is doing or anything that's happened, it's at a discount. You
Yeah,
buy like
you're buying it at a discount.
you go on Black Friday shopping, it's at a discount.